Hi, it's Melissa Pearce from Melissa Pearce & Associates. So this month I'm actually going to start a new thing for you guys and do some video tips for you. So on Mondays, I'm going to share with you some co-parenting tips. So my tip for today is very simple. Find a way to communicate. You can't co-parent with that other parent unless you're communicating. There's so many things to communicate. You need to communicate sports schedules, extracurricular activities. Right now, what are you going to do about parenting time during restrictions with the coronavirus? That's a prime example. You need to communicate like basic things. Like I just had a client at the beginning of when the state shut down, the other parent worked the front line, in the healthcare industry and was at a greater risk of bringing the virus home to the children. And so that parent asked the other one to rearrange parenting time for the time being, meaning let's not have in-person visits. I don't want to give this virus to my children, which is a very loving and caring thing to do, but I still want to have contact. And so they were able to sit down and work amongst themselves, which is a really great thing. If you're co-parenting, you don't need the judge, you don't need lawyers, you don't need referees or anyone else to tell you how to co-parent. You know your children best. So these two parents were able to sit down and talk about what would work. And they came up with a really good video call schedule to work with their children. And if you've got young children and you're like, they're two, they're not going to sit on the call for a long time. It doesn't have to be a long time. And if they're two, maybe you need to do more frequent phone calls. Maybe it's a call in the morning and maybe it's a call at night. And it could just be a quick call to say goodnight. When talking about quick calls to say goodnight, maybe what you do is set them up with your iPad and have the child simply do this. The child has the iPad, the other parent's there, and they're reading a story, and you can share the pages by holding them up to the camera. It's a great way to spend time with your kids. So if you're going to co-parent, learn how to communicate. You don't have to be best friends, but you do need to communicate. You need to communicate things about health, education, extracurricular activities, problems. It's hard raising kids, especially in those teenage years. And sometimes you just need to say, you did it when you were married. Time out. I need a break. Maybe it's time you take the child. And sometimes our kids just need the other parent. And we need to be able to communicate that they're going through a really hard time. And I think they need time with you. Now, understand this, communication, you can't force the other parent to be on the same page as you. So understand that you can be reaching out and doing all this communication, but if the other parent is not responding, that's not your fault. That's not your responsibility. So just keep that in mind. So my tip for today is learn how to communicate and establish good communication habits with the other parent that doesn't bring that animosity into it. And there's multiple ways to communicate. In fact, stay tuned for tomorrow, because on Tuesdays, I will be sharing you tips on how to communicate effectively with the other parent to minimize conflict in your divorce and after the divorce is final. Have a great day, and I look forward to sharing more tips with you on how to be a great co-parenter.